Nonz, Zofieo. This is my favorite villain in the whole series that I have wrote so far, and this is literally a long-awaited video. I made a video before, and the title was Zofieo Gamamochi. I'm like, no, the original name is Zofieo, so Gamamochi is his last name, but we shall not, I repeat, shall not destroy Zofieo's name, because that is why he is Zofieo. So Zofieo was a part of the Big Five. If you don't know who the Big Five is, go back to Nonz, the war that started it all, or Iroku Furiaka, and you know exactly who the Big Five are. So the Big Five consists of the main character's father, the main character being Gabaya Murioto. His father's name is Rogata Murioto. Now, number 2 was Kazik Dachihiro, who is Gabaya Murioto Sensei. And number 3 is based off a very other rapper called Mr. Fab, who's the leader of Team Ghost, and his name is Mustaku. So number 4 is a parody of Mandy from the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, and her name is Madison. And number 5 is the topic of this video, and his name is Zofieo. So Zofieo's power is to control spiders, and he's based off Orochimaru from Naruto. He is the most strategic, but he is also the most evil villain in the whole entire series. So Zofieo works like this. So when he was young, he had one of the best grades in the academy, and he was the first generation of people who knew how to use their powers. So he is under the wing of Iroku Furiaka, based off E40. So basically, Zofieo was tied with Rogata and Kazik when it comes to hand-to-hand combat and where it comes to strategy as well. So Rogata Murioto, Kazik Dachihiro, and Zofieo were the monster trio of the Big Five. And the great thing about Zofieo is he is very astonishing. He was one of Iroku Furiaka's favorite students. And the crazy thing about Zofieo, and why I love to draw him, but also why I love to write him, is because the way he is basically Orochimaru that doesn't fold. And I'll get more into it a little bit on in the video. So here's how Zofieo works. So when he was younger, Iroku Furiaka evaluated each and every one. So Kazik got into a relationship with Madison, and Madison's original power was to control plants based off the flower on Mandy's shirt, and she's based off Billy and Mandy. So Kazik Dachihiro and Madison had a really good relationship, and he asked Zofieo, what does he want to be when he grows up? And Zofieo said this. So if you go back to the original video of Iroku Furiaka and the war that started it all, here's what happened. So basically, Iroku Furiaka was the replacement of Matt Kai. So Matt Kai defeated the demon god named Kakumori. And Kakumori is literally the main villain that started it all. He's the reason why we have demons. So what happened was, there was this dark matter that was created by the god above named Madia. And Madia cursed the world with a spiritual tsunami, and she gave both powers to the humans and demons and caused a war between them. And the war ended with Matt Kai facing Kakumori. So Kakumori is a collective of all the evil creatures in the whole wide world. And basically, Kakumori literally is a manifestation of every single thing that was evil about this world in one figure. So after Matt Kai defeated Kakumori, they built schools to help people learn how to use their power. And Matt Kai passed on his position as ambassador to Iroku Furiaka. So under Iroku Furiaka's reign, Zofieo says this when Iroku Furiaka asks what is his goal. And so Zofieo says this. When he's young, when he's around Gabaya's age, he says, I want to be just like Kakumori. And the crazy thing about Iroku Furiaka is he actually wrote with it, and in his mind he's like, that takes a lot of drive, that takes a lot of determination. And the great thing about this is, he didn't want him to become Kakumori, but Iroku Furiaka fueled his dream and fueled his passion of how to get to Kakumori's level of strength. And that was Zofieo's goal. So Kakumori was Zofieo's role model, and he wanted to be the evilest person in the whole entire world. And Iroku Furiaka went with it because he knew that that is a very hard goal to achieve, and he trusted Zofieo based off his drive alone. So Zofio's power is to control spiders. So he's basically the most sinister villain in Nonz. And the reason why is because his spiders can create spiders and they just keep on coming and coming and coming, and there's nothing you can do about it. But the thing about Zofieo is he is very, very crafty. So unlike Kazik's power, which is to control everything natural, so Kazik can control nature, but it's within human limitation because of this. So what happens is this. He can summon lightning because he can do a whole lot, but he has to make sure he is one with the environment, and he can only summon based off what's around. And he can summon animals, he can do this and that, so his power is very multidimensional, but he is a human, and that is his default. He cannot do something that affects the environment to a point where it is at his expense. So basically, Rogata's power is the same as Baya Mudioto's power, but he is the most advanced member in the clan, because Rogata's power is to create mood weapons at will. So he can create anything that happens to be with mood, and literally, he is 10 times stronger than Gabaya. So these two are literally the exact opposite of Zofieo. They can keep on creating, but Zofieo can keep on recreating. And the really savage thing about Zofieo is his power is so annoying, because not only does he have unlimited spiders basically, but he has the mind like no other, and some of his spiders have different abilities. Like some of his spiders can literally carry fire within their stomach, like fire ants. You know, some of these spiders are poisonous, and they have a lot of different abilities. And some of these spiders change sizes. You know, it's crazy because Zofieo is literally the most malicious villain in my manga, and the reason why is because this. So here goes the backstory. So Iroku Fuyaka trains all of them. So during the war, Zofieo helps, like just like Orochimaru, Tsunade, and Jiraiya, which is what the Big Five is based off. The Big Five is based off Dasani, and Zofieo is based off Orochimaru. So here's what happens. So one day, Zofieo decides to take the Federation down, and what he does is he targets Mandy, and he kills Madison. He destroys Madison, and this is the most evil thing that you will ever see. So what happened is he kills Kazik's spouts, basically. So Kazik and Rogata go out to take Zofieo, and here's a little insider. So when he literally, so Iroku Fuyaka and his mind knew that it was a bad idea for Rogata and Kazik to team up on Zofieo for a very good reason. So even though you may think that they played off their emotion, there are very strategic fighters. So Rogata and Kazik literally teamed up to go take down Zofieo. So the fight lasted for so many hours, and Zofieo kept on creating spiders, and they kept on defeating him, and Zofieo kept on running away. So it got to a point where Kazik and Rogata killed Zofieo, but what happened is, before they killed him, Zofieo sealed the soul within a mini spider, and he got away, and then he created his own empire. So he learned how to do a whole lot, and this plan was heavily orchestrated. So what happened was this. So he left Rogata and Kazik in distress, and he literally left Rogata with the biggest scar. So here's the thing. It's a mental scar. Rogata does have a scar because he is based off Bardock from Dragon Ball Z. But the thing about Rogata and Zofieo is Kazik learned to let go of what he did to Mandy, but it still haunts him inside because Zofieo is very, very fucking crafty. And the worst part about Zofieo is this. It's like, literally, what happened was this. So Madison, when she died, she went to the other world, and she went to this hellish-like world, and she sees a Rastafarian skull with dreads. And so Madison goes into this underworld, and she's like, where am I? And so literally, the skull gave her one option. The skull said this: I can bring you back to life only if you become pure evil. And so ever since then, Madison changed her entire power to control plants like poison ivy to literally being the Grim Reaper of Death. So Madison now wears a hoodie, looks just like Mandy from the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, but carries a scythe and sees Mandy fused with Grim of my universe. So basically, Madison is basically one of the strongest villains in my manga, and if you check the dad books, she is stronger than Zofieo. So now it's crazy, but the worst thing about Zofieo is the fact that it's not only the fact that he stole the soul within the spider, it's not only the fact that he literally destroyed Rogata and Kazik's mentality when they fought, because in reality, they never win. And that's the craziest thing about Zofieo. So the reason why I feel like he's in my opinion, I feel like he's better than Orochimaru because the one thing that's flawed about Orochimaru from Naruto as a character that I've noticed is that his character folds. So basically what happens is this: Zofieo and Orochimaru are different because Zofio's plan are damn near bulletproof compared to Orochimaru's because Zofieo doesn't focus on winning. Zofieo focuses on the next move, basically. So here's what happens. So just like when he got away, what he does is this: every single fight, Ogata has fought Zofieo. This is the prelogue, by the way. I'm not even spoiling anything because this all happened before episode 1. This all happened before chapter 1. So this basically is how Zofieo operates and exactly how he is able to literally get under Rogata's skin. He can't get under Kazek's skin because Kazek is way too calm, cool, and collect. But here's the thing that Kazek knows not to cross with Zofieo, where Rogata crosses it all the time. So here's what happens is Rogata became Zofio's rival. Even though Zofieo affected Kazek more, Rogata literally went to one-on fight after one-on fights after one-on-one fights over and over and over again when he faced Zofieo before Gabaya was even born. And the crazy thing about it is, every single time that Rogata and Zofieo fought, Zofieo always got the upper hand. So Zofieo lost every single fight that he faced Rogata with, but he got him mentally every single time they fought. So it doesn't matter if Rogata punches Zofieo in the face. It doesn't matter how many times Zofieo gets beaten down. His character never folds. Zofieo is the type of person that if his plan fumbles, he still can fall back and he retreats and he leaves you in distress because that is his mode of operation. And that is exactly why he is the best villain, because of the way he thinks. So what happens is this: so literally, every single time Rogata fought him, it doesn't matter if Rogata beats him to a pulp, he's always going to come back. He's always going to regenerate. He's always going to do this and that. And it's so fucking record. Rogata can do all he wants. He can beat the fuck out of Zofieo, but Rogata knows he loses at heart every single time. And he can never fool Zofieo. And no matter how much he's getting beaten, Zofieo always keeps his composure. Unlike Orochimaru, when he fought heroes and he lost his arms, or he lost his composure, Zofieo never loses his composure in a fight. And he still keeps his evil face. No matter how many times we bring him down, Zofieo continues to keep that same evil face. And it is scary as fuck. So basically it's like this. So during chapters before we get into the actual story of Nonz, so what happens is this: so Zofieo gets a lackey that happened to be his biggest fan, similar to how Zofieo loved Kakumori, and this lackey's name is Taihiko Shibusen, and he's based off Kabuto Yakushi from Naruto. He's based off Kabuto Yakushi from Naruto, and he's also a ghost user similar to what Kabuto is in Naruto, but instead of actual people, instead of actually using, their actual physical bodies, what he does is he has silhouette ghosts that can solidify themselves. So Taiko is very, very strong, and he's basically a suppressed Kazek level. And the crazy thing about Taiko is his ghosts come out of his back, and they are the form of your stereotypical black ghost, but they can solidify themselves. So basically, they can hit you very, very hard. And he is very malicious and he is very crafty, just like Zofieo was. So basically, Zofieo and Taiko are based off Orochimaru. So basically, Zofieo and Taiko are based off Orochimaru and Kabuto from Naruto. And it's crazy because of this, because Zofieo and Taiko has this thing where Zofieo uses Taiko to expand his empire because Taiko can use ghosts. So Taiko creates Zofio's new army and his empire that's stuck in the desert. So Zofieo is very powerful and he lives far away from the Federation, and he's always doing work to try to bring the Federation down. So along the way, they find a guy named Boomer Red Dodger, who is the main rival of Gabaya Murioto. So Boomer's story goes like this: if you go back to Boomer Red Dodger's video, he had his whole family wiped out in outer space due to a war with the Murioto family. So here's what happens. So Zofieo takes Boomer from his family, and Zofieo gives Boomer a place to live, and Boomer becomes Zofio's pupil, and he's under the wing of Taiko. So it goes Zofieo, Taiko, then Boomer. But Boomer is under the sensei of Tendachi the Magician, which I have another video on the channel. So basically, Boomer is basically the prodigy for Zofieo. And so Zofio's last name is Gamamochi, and I took that out because we have to understand that that is why he is the best villain in Nonz, because he is Zofieo. And Zofio's goal is to make sure that Boomer is strong enough to defeat Gabaya Murioto and his entire family. So this is Nonz, and this is my favorite villain in Nonz. This is Zofieo.